So how these things are managed, actually, how the BMS manages all these things. So I have lots of time in this session. Also I have talked that there are the sensors and the valves and actuators, all the things are there. So sensors are actually the basic element which give you the information of all your devices, because here these are the dumb machines, the HU unit, the lighting unit, all the things are the dumb machines actually. You have to give a sensing to that. You have to make them intelligent in such a way that it can tell you by themselves that I need a maintenance. So how it will tell you? It will tell you with the help of those sensors. So sensors are very common English word which gives you a sensing of the elements. And if in terms of electronics, I can term, so these are the elements actually, the physical elements they are. And from these physical elements actually convert the data into a electronic format. So if I have a like a CO2 level, if I am talking about, or maybe humidity I am talking about, so humidity is a physical data. It is a data. Now if I have to sense the humidity, I should have an element which will convert this humidity data into a electrical system or electronic system. And this term is this, all the things is being done by the sensors and the transducers. So there are multiple kind of sensors are there in our system, whether it is a temperature, if I'm talking about, you are familiar with the current sensors are there, the proximity sensors are there, like distance measurements, proximity is like you go into the washroom and automatically the flush starts, or automatically your wash machine starts. Maybe you go into the room hall and automatically the lighting starts. So that's what the proximity sensing is there. It may be a thereafter pressure sensing you do for the environment pressure and for the machine's pressure that you do. So there is the pressure sensors are there. There are various chemical sensors are also there. Material is there. Positioning sensors are there, like at what position my equipments are there, so that it will remain in a fixed state and it has not moved from a place. So I need to also consider all those things. So that's how the position control systems that is there. So yes, all these sensors are actually the input devices. So it gives the data of the physical items to your system in a electrical manner. So we get the signals of the physical data into your system. So these are actually the input systems. So there is lots of sensors here on your screen. We can discuss maybe again, maybe there would be session and we can discuss many of the sensors next sessions. So in today's session I have especially kept about that occupancy sensor, because in nowadays scenario occupancy is a very big concern, because it is a which in the beginning also I have told you that we have to maintain those social distancing and all the kind of structures. And if you are planning an efficient building where we can plan where we can plan all these things in advance, that how many what should be the space of my building is, where should we place the items in my building. We need to plan that how occupied my building remain, which area of my building is more occupied, which area of my building remains non-occupied, so that I can move the people towards that side also, so that the whole of the building gets evenly occupied. So that's what the time of flight sensors or the occupancy sensor works. So there are multiple type of sensors are there for the occupancy that we generally see. There are ultrasonic sensors are there. There are infrared sensors are there. And there is a very new thing, and it is a 3D time of flight sensor that I am talking about. So ultrasonic, so if these are the ultrasonic sensors or IR sensors or proximity sensors, the infrared sensors, these are the very passive nature of sensors. Like they are just fixed at a place, and based on the distance measurement, based on a view of its view angle, it can give you an idea that whether one is present in the room or not. Maybe it can, in place of a person, if you have placed a kind of a almirah in its view, it can tell you that yes, there is a person in front of me, because it cannot see. There it is just sensing that yes, it is just emitting some kind of waves, maybe maybe ultrasonic wave, maybe an infrared wave, and if that wave is getting returned to this sensor, it can tell you that yes, there is an object. So if I'm talking about ultrasonic or IR, all these are actually the passive kind of a non-visible sensors, non-eyed sensors we call it in terms of electronics. But if I have to implement some kind of intelligent or smart systems where we can get a vision that yes, whether the person is present in that room or not, how many person are present in that room, whether the person is moving or not, what is the distance between the person. All these things are being given by the idea of these 3D time of flight sensors. So just to give you an idea here, this is occupancy detection sensors. So this can do your ventilation control. This can be used for the monitoring for the elderly and patients. Like if there is a elderly person in a flat of your building, you can, with the help of these sensors, you can monitor his position without compromising his privacy. Because normally what you see that you implement a kind of a CCTV, so his compromise will be compromised. His privacy will be compromised if you are placing a CCTV in his room. But if you have placed a kind of a sensor without compromising his live feed, without compromising his privacy, you can easily get an idea that yes, that person is moving within the room, he is in a good health, he is moving, all the things are doing. So that kind of a home monitoring and this the kind of occupancy sensor does. Surveillance purpose, these things are there, like in the malls and all these places. This surveillance sensors are used, like if you are doing any kind of activity which is leading to theft of the items in the store, it can be directly catch you and can ring the alarm. So sir, in the case of surveillance also, this occupancy sensor works. Queue management, here like we have to maintain a 2 feet distancing or a 6 feet distancing, 6 feet distancing. So this queue management system, this occupancy sensor works. It can tell you that yes, you are coming very close to the person. So how does it work? So there is a theory of operation is there. So it emits actually the lighting. The lights are being emitted from the source, and based on the reflection, it can calculate that how much distant you are from the sensor, because there is a delay in the return light. If you are more distant, there will be more delay in the returned light. If you are very near to that sensor, the delay time will be very less. So based on that distance measurement, it can tell you that you are a moving item, you are not a dumb object placed in that room. So this is a base theory operation of this. And it works on the differentiation of the phase angle. So these are the two phase angles, Q3 minus Q4 and Q1 minus Q2. So this is the phase angle difference of the source and the reflection, means the pulse source and pulse reflection. So pulse reflection is beneath one, and you can see that how this pulse is going on. On the top of this, it is sending a modulated pulse. Now if you are nearby, the returned pulse will be very in a very less delayed time period. So I have just greened it or made it colored through the blue. And if you are a far distant, the pulse distance, the delay will be higher. So in the C4 section, that you can see that it is taking more time to return the pulses. So that's how we do a kind of algorithm for the calculation of this, just for a single simple measurement. So if it is a single sensor that I have IR or ultrasonic that we are talking about, so it is just taking a 1 point. But if it is a time of flight sensor, it can send you a array of pixels, that the pulses that I have shown over here. So these pulses. So this is not a one pulse that it can see. So this. So this is not only one pulse that it can be sending. It will be sending a multiple pulse here in the downwards that you can see, and it can actually calculate that how depth. So it will give you a 3D view of your person or the object sitting in front of the sensor, and can give you an idea that yes, the person is moving, and what is the distance, what is the occupancy, and all the things are there. Just live data I am just showing you if I am able to. So here you can see on the screen, I am sitting here. I have just implemented this 3D view of sensor, so that you can see on the big screen my 3D that occupied view of this sensor is coming, and this is a light that this is the view of the sensor on the downwards, and this is in the upwards. It is the IR spectrum of mine. So you just see the video that how it comes. The video is visible to everyone, I hope.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it doesn't have a sound actually, so it is just a silent video. So you can see that it can actually measure all my hand contours, my heads, my all the movements, all the things are there. And on the upper hand there are the different color patterns that you can see. There is a yellow color is there, there is a red color is there. So it is actually giving my IR spectrum that my body is emitting more amount of IR, so it is in the red zone. As I am moving, that you can see the IR spectrum is moving. My surrounding is less IR emitted, so it has another color. So that's how this sensor works. So I hope you have got some idea that how this actually this is not a camera, this is actually a sensor. This sensor is taking all my images and drawing a contour. Based on those contours it can detect and it can sense my positions, my values and all of these things, and can give the system, the BMS system, it can give an idea. Thus yes, the person is within the room, this is occupied, there is how many number of persons. So this is a sitting example that I have shown you. If you have placed it at a lift, so it can also tell you that what is the distance between the two moving objects. It can even tell you that if two persons are crossing by each other. So if it is a standard sensor, it will just tell you one person is there. Like I'm talking about a DFM gate, like there are metal entry gates are there in the malls or maybe in the metro that you have seen. So if two person come side by side, it will sense as a one person, the normal IR sensors. But if this is a kind of occupancy sensor, it can tell you that no, two person has entered, because it has actually taken the 3D image of all those two people and can give you the idea. Now, so I have talked about the sensors and all those things, the things I have talked, the sensors I have talked. Now, how this predictive and maintenance happen, or the preventive maintenance will happen in the BMS. So historically what happens, that we are running a system, the system breaks down and we do kind of a maintenance and then again system runs. But nowadays we have a continuous monitoring system where we have a 3 layers of architectures. We have the most critical equipments aligned, we have the mid architecture equipment aligned, and we have the less expensive equipments aligned. And based on that we can do a kind of a continuous monitoring and predictive maintenance. Predictive maintenance, I can term you a very generalized term, like I have a HE unit. That HE unit needs to be maintained at every 3 months. But what has happened, that this season, the summer, it was very hot, and it required a maintenance in only 1 month. In 1 month only it required a maintenance. So what will happen, if you have a scheduled maintenance process, you will be waiting that thus 3 months will happen, then I will call the maintenance guy and he will do the maintenance for my system. In this case, the efficiency of your HE unit will go bad, because he actually required the maintenance in the first month only. But if I had a kind of a system where it can tell me in advance that my system is going bad, I can do a predictive maintenance of my system beforehand. The same thing can happen with your AC, the example that I have taken in the very beginning. So there is one predictive maintenance is there, but nowadays there is another layer of it is there with the help of these semiconductor companies. This is the condition-based monitoring systems. What this condition-based monitoring systems is, normally we see there is a graph that you can see the warranty coverage. Thereafter, after the warranty coverage, we have the time-based maintenances, so that my system doesn't go bad, and we have a risk of failure in that, because time-based maintenance is there. Even after time-based maintenance, there is a risk of potential failure of the system after a time period. And then we start doing the condition-based maintenance. Like you have a AC, 2 years it is in the warranty maybe. After that, you are doing a maintenance after 3 months, and doing after all 3 months maintenance, 5 years you have passed. Now your AC, sometime maybe the fan gets problem, maybe sometime the temperature sensor has some problem, maybe sometime the humidity sensor has some problem, maybe sometime after say 10 years, maybe your compressor has gone bad and it is functionally failure. So that's how we take in case of all the systems. But if we have a condition based monitoring systems, what happens with the help of these sensors, these embedded software designs, these algorithms, the mechanical system maintenances, we can plan, or we can check the things beforehand that my system is going bad. How this will happen? There is a proper mechanism of this condition based monitoring. This has components as the sensors. These sensors will give actually the physical data of those machines. Based on those physical data, there are the embedded machines are there. There are the microprocessors are there, which will do the task of calculation, the calculation of the algorithms of these sensor data. And based on that, my mechanical system will get monitored or maintained. So there is one small example I have taken over here. There is a mechanical noise source. I've taken example of say HE units or maybe a kind of a motor system. So I have this misalignments are there. Normally you will see them in the maintenance, the system doesn't remain misaligned. It should not be imbalanced. The gearbox should remain in a proper state. The cavitation, there should be no cavity in between the motor heads. So these are normal mechanical noise sources are there, and we generally tend to see this. But if we have a condition based monitoring systems, we can see that yes, current is also going higher. Maybe I have a motor, after 2 years it has started taking more current. So if it has started taking more current, means its magnetic field is going bad. Maybe its lubrication is going in a bad state. It is not lubricated as yet in an earlier state. It is getting heated. It means it is taking more amount of current. If it is taking more amount of current, it will producing more amount of noise. So acoustics will also will be in a bad stage. So these things we consider for the condition based monitorings, and with the help of these condition based monitoring systems, my asset would remain in a better state throughout its life period, and I can increase the efficiency of it even during its life period, which will actually later on save on my cost. Because if my motor, which is taking now, when I purchased it and it was taking around 5 amperes of current, maybe after an year we have kept it into a scheduled maintenance, and after an year it has started maybe 8 amperes of current. So for every hour we are consuming more amount of energy, so which is actually going onto my electricity bill. But if I had a kind of a maintenance system, the CBM maintenance system, I can keep it managed beforehand. So that's how these things work. There is one more use case I will take. I've just take about an example of a hotel chain, maybe a Tata Group I just take. So Tata Group has a hotel chain. Maybe it is in Mumbai, maybe in Hyderabad, maybe in Delhi, maybe in South Africa also, maybe in UK also, US also, they have the hotels. Now the Tata Group wants a kind of a comparative study that how much revenue I am generating from which hotel that they are getting, but how much efficient my which hotel is, how they will get the idea. Or a comparison, like if the temperature level in South Africa is much higher than us at certain places, or maybe in America the temperature level is lower compared to us, so the efficiency levels of the machines would be different. Do you agree with that? So the time of maintenance, the age of the machines, the aging factor, all the things will differ for the machines in all these two places. So it will not, if I don't have a smart system, we won't be able to compare in an intelligent way about the investments and the expenses or the revenue that is being generated from the hotel. So we have a kind of a system now aligned with this BMS, is the IoT system that I had earlier talked. So this all integrated make a building IoT, the Internet of Things for building, the building IoT architecture. This is the new era for actually the BMS, which gives us three features. First one is the interoperability. So the machines, devices, sensors, all these are communicable to each other. The transparency, all the sensor data which is being gathered from the physical things are getting stored, and we can make a model of that, and based on that model we can compare the position, that the scenario that I have just talked. We can do a modeling of this, like at 40-degree temperature level the efficiency level of AHU is X. If the same AHU is put at a 10-degree or 12-degree centigrade ambient temperature centigrade level, what would be its efficiency? That is a model that can be generated from the data that we gather, and this thing will be possible only when we have the interoperability of the data. It is only possible when the data from the South African location, the data from the American location, the data from the UK location, and data from the Indian location, all these will be compared automatically, because it is not the task of a human now who will compare all these data items and generate analytics for that. So if this is the data that is gathered at one place and being compared, so the IoT has come into place, because here all the data over the WAN is getting stored onto a certain cloud, on a cloud storage, and the transparency and the interoperability is happening. Based on that, we have the decentralized. We can have the decentralized decisions. So if this is the scenario, there is a term called CPS. Normally we were talking about yet the DDC or VLC we were talking about. Now we are talking about the CPS, the cyber physical systems. The cyber physical systems, these are the systems which is actually connected over the internet. So everything on my IoT is actually a CPS. So they make own decisions and act autonomously with few exceptions. So like AHU I have talked about, if it is connected on a BIoT architecture, it will be automatically deciding that yes, if occupancy level has risen, my motor should be running at a faster speed. If occupancy level has dipped down, my motor should be running at a lower speed. So that's how the IoT architecture running in a real-time systems. Normally in a BMS system, what I was talking about earlier, it was not in real time. We give the data to the central workstation computer. Based on that data, central workstation computer generates an event, and after that event, the engineer takes a control that he lowers the speed of the AHU or he increases the speed of the AHU. That's how it was happening in a generic BMS. But if it is a IoT connected system, it is a cyber physical system, it can automatically decide on itself that yes, occupancy level has dipped down, I should increase or decrease my efficiency level, like CO2 level if I am talking about. So if the CO2 level in a hall has increased, it means there are more number of the people in the room, so there should be more fresh air should be pumped in, so AHU will work accordingly that. And the technical assistance, so accordingly automatically on the self basis, it can give the technical assistance to the humans, because many of the people who will be working on the system will not be that technically efficient or will not be that technically qualified to work on those systems. So the system should also generate a kind of a technical assistance. So it is giving a thing of optimization, configuration, diagnostics, cognition, and support. All these 5 things the BIoT gives. So optimization of your devices, the self-configuration feature, the self-diagnostic feature, it can diagnose itself. If it is going bad, it can tell me in itself that yes, I'm going bad, I need a repair, I need a maintenance. It can self-cognize itself, it can self-cognize the defects in itself, and it can generate the support for itself directly. So that's how the BIoT implementation now actually. So in a generic industry process or in a generic BMS system, in the very lower hand, the HVAC systems are there. those HVAC systems have the HMI interfaces. Those HMI interfaces, the human machine interface that I'm talking about. Now you must have heard about the SCADA systems. So these SCADA systems are there who are to give you a real time scenario of your machines. So these SCADA systems are there, which is giving the control and which is giving you the monitoring status. Thereafter, on top of those SCADA systems, there is a MES system is there. Means it is kind of a reporting system that we can talk about. So you go to the person who is from the ERP, go to the MES system. He takes the report that at what time period the schedules had happened, and thereafter he implements it into the ERP. So MS is that system kind of thing. So there is no automation in this. And if it is a WAN connected system, it is not intranet. So the data will be uploaded to the cloud also. So this is a generic industry or generic building automation process is. This remains only one way. That you can see the arrow is there. So one-way communication is there from the PLC to the cloud. There is only one way. If my thing has gone bad, my HU has gone bad, it cannot directly be communicated from the ERP or from the MES system. It has to come in. It will be through the SCADA systems only. So backward compatibility or backward communication is not possible. But if I am doing a BIoT implementation, we have all the things connected. So you can see on top of this, we have the SCADA systems, we have the customers also, we have the facilitators, those are the operation maintenance systems, and we have the business systems. Business systems are like the owners of the building or owners of the system who need the reports and all the things. So all they are on the top of this. They are connected through the APIs and gateways to this system. And this automation is done through this cloud. Cloud, this is the devices are there, there are the applications are there. So this cloud has actually all the data which is being generated from these systems. And how the cloud has been communicated? The cloud has been communicated through the different protocols. So in the VMS that I have earlier talked to you, there is a Modbus protocol because it is running within the building. But if I'm talking about a cloud communication, we have the REST APIs, we have the MQTT protocol, PlugNet protocol. So these are the various kind of protocols are there. Through these protocols, so protocols are actually just rules. So through these rules, we are communicating from my devices to the cloud. And my devices are actually the hardware things. So my hardware thing will be communicating to this cloud or to this system through some software agents. So a software is required. So for that connection purpose, the software agent is there, the libraries are there, and the gateways are there. So gateways, now what happens in my in our systems, you are building a system today. So maybe new items you have, whatever the systems which was there in a market a new kind of implementation that you are doing. So you have implemented a new things over there. New things means the system which is actually compatible to your system design. I am designing a system. I have a complete architecture of that. I have a complete communication protocol of that, and accordingly I have customized my devices so that it becomes a new thing for me. But there might be older systems in the building also. There might be take a case of HE unit again, or maybe air conditioning unit I'm talking about. So there are two kinds of AC units there. One AC unit is there which is voice controlled, which is mobile controlled, and which is internet controlled. So my system is internet controlled. So this new AC is as per my requirement. So this is a new thing for me because it can give me the data as per my requirement. And there may be older AC also, which was purchased 10 years old, which doesn't have any kind of interface in that. So then it becomes a legacy item for me. But if I'm making a system, that AC also needs to be considered in my system. So I need to make another kind of arrangement to incorporate those systems also in my BIoT architecture. So we have a gateway kind of architecture where we take these legacy items and we have a direct connection features through the software agents, the new things. These new things are have all the data items, the data control features, the data processing features, and this comes under the edge computing. So whenever we are doing industrial considerations, the IoT considerations, we have the industrial things, we have the connectivity, we have the cloud platform. So through these industrial things, the data is being gathered, that is being connected to the system through these gateways and routers. The data is being stored on the cloud, and from the cloud, the dashboard, alarms, and analytics are generated. So all those four things are considered whenever we are designing any IIoT system. Okay, so it is getting over time. Yes, we are just finishing in 5 minutes. So what BIoT can do for you? It can do interoperable VMS software. It can give you with the help of these IoT systems, you can do a kind of a voice-based applications like Google Assistant you have heard of. You can turn on and off your devices. You can do, there are the various assistants are there. Alexa is there, Siri is there for the Apple. You have, this is the look that I have shown you here, that how the data is coming in terms of, on the left hand side, this is the diagram of this BIoT structure, and on the right hand side I am just showing you that how this BMS data is coming on the dashboard. Okay, so not taking more time, just one more thing. There was a question on security also. So how this so IoT security is giving you this security is very important actually, because lots of these systems are being hacked. There was a question also that yes, systems are getting hacked, because if we are making the system, so there may be someone who can operate over it and can hack it. But it is actually the talk of the designer who is designing the system, and he has to design it such a way that it should not be hacked, and security is not just a one-time process. It should remain in a continuous throughout the life cycle of the product. So it will be giving you information security, it will be giving you IT security, the physical security, and operational security. All these four things are considered under this IoT security, and all these four things are there for your building items also. So why we secure? What is being, because means we need to assess that. So what is being protected? Based on that, we actually implement the security. It is security, not a very generalized term. We need to very much consider that what is being protected, from whom you are protecting, and from where the attack will happen. Based on all these three things, the security assessment we do, and based on that we implement the security. If it is a kind of a system which is very much vulnerable, which is a very much public use, we don't implement a kind of a security in that. We don't leave a much larger interface of data in that case. If it is a system, if it is a database kind of a system, we implement a higher level of security in that. We don't give an attack surface in that, so that it should not be remain vulnerable for all of them. So whenever security is implemented, there are 7 layers of this. So starting from the physical layer to the application layer that you see, the interfaces that you see, and at the end is the physical layer, the machines, the cables, and all those things. So there are certain documentations are there, document numbers are there. These are the IEC documents are there, IEC 6443 and 62443. This is for the building automation security purposes. The documentations are there. It is available on the internet. You can download and check it also. Maybe I can mail you also. I can mail to Quatra sir, and he can send it to you. So we implement generally, for the user perspective, we implement the separate security at the application layer. And if I'm talking about the technical perspectives, the security is implemented on the physical and the network layers. If it is a cloud environment, so we have to implement the security at the endpoints and at the cloud level also. So there are various logics in that. Maybe we can